Welcome back, fight fans, to another edition of Budge MMA. I am the kid. I am with my co-host, the coach. Once again, we are back after about a 3-month hiatus, and we are welcoming in the Paramount Plus era. Last week, we saw Paddy Pimblett take on Justin the Highlight Gaethje for the 155-pound interim championship of the world in Las Vegas, Nevada. Coach, this weekend, we go to Sydney, New South Wales, Australia for the rematch down under. Alexander the Great Volkanovski taking on Diego Lopes. Coach, before we get into this great UFC 325 main card, what did you think about 324? It was the first card of the Paramount era. Did you like it? What were your thoughts? What were your comments?
I thought overall it was really good, and good to see you again, kid. You look nice. Nice outfit you have on there. I liked it overall, and props to Paramount for making it a lot cheaper to watch these fights. I really appreciate that. You don't have to hack into all these other streams. It's nice. But I thought the last bunch of fights was cool. It started off with a bang, and then, of course, the Dagestani's put a sleeper hold on it by laying on, Umar, I think, was laying on this fella. And I don't know. I thought Paddy should have been a little smarter about the fight. I think he turned into Justin and tried to fight him on the feet. He should have never done that. Justin's he's a maniac. And it was tough to watch because I was hoping Paddy would win, to be perfectly honest with you. I thought it would be nice to see some new blood, but whatever. It's all good. It was a good fight overall. Sugar Sean, I honestly did not think he won, but, he's back. Whatever, it's all good. He's colorful. I like his vibe. But, overall, I thought it was a good card, and I'm really excited about this one.
I agree, Coach. Definitely some spotty decisions, some spotty judging. I think it's really hard to beat Justin Gaethje in a firefight. And I think if Paddy took that fight again, he'd have a little bit different of an approach. That card, Coach, I felt like was very solid top to bottom, whereas this UFC 325 card is very top heavy, where the great fights are towards the top of the billings. That's where we're going to break down. We're going to start with the main card here. Coach, let's get right into it with a 155-pound matchup between two Australians. Quillan Salkeld is going to take on Jamie Mullarkey. Coach, I'm going to let you lead off here. What are you thinking about this matchup?
I don't think it's going to go very long. I think the Quillan's going to knock him out, frankly. He is 10-0, 10-1-0, whatever. And I just think Jamie Mullarkey is not that great. And he's got 8 losses, and I think he's been KO'd quite a bit. I think he's gonna have his lunch handed to him, and I like this. I like this Quillan Salkeld. I think he's an up and comer. I think he's pretty tough, and I think he's going to be fun to watch. I think Jamie's he'll be a fun fight for him. I think he's going to just go right after him. Go ahead, kid.
I agree, Coach. I think, like you said, Jamie Mullarkey has been touched up quite a bit in the octagon. Fun fact, one of Volkanovski's first fights at 155 pounds. Actually, I believe it was at welterweight, was against Jamie Mullarkey, 2 weight classes up, and Volkanovski knocked him out. So I think Mullarkey's been through it in the cage. He's a seasoned veteran. I don't think Quillan is the prospect that people make him out to be. I think he is a little bit overrated because he has a few highlights and he's been on pay-per-views before. But I think Jamie Mullarkey is the kind of litmus test where you get another highlight out of him. This is set up for Quillan to have another highlight reel KO, like the Anshul Jubilee matchup. So for me, Quillan's a little bit faster. The chin is a little bit fresher. He's the younger man, 5 years younger than Mullarkey. And I think this is just more so of put a highlight reel on in front of your home fans. I know both these guys are Australian, but Quillan is the up-and-comer, like you said, Coach. Give me Quillan Salkeld by first-round KO. I think we're on the same page there.
Right on. Move on, kid.
Perfect, Coach. We are moving on to a heavyweight tilt. Our only one of the main card, Tai Tuivasa, comes back from a long hiatus to potentially create another shoey moment in Australia against Taliesin Teixeira. And, Coach, I know we're talking about shoeys here. I don't think there's going to be one in this matchup. Tai Tuivasa, I don't know how this guy is still in the UFC, Coach. He's 0-5. He's approaching Tony Ferguson territory with his record. And like you can see here, the tail of the tape, Coach, I didn't even put a weight down because this guy might be one of the first men to miss the heavyweight limit. If you can see down in the bottom left, I put his weight as massive/fat. This guy always comes in out of shape. Coach, it's always on embedded. well, I'm in the best shape of me life. I'm in the best shape of me life. And then he comes in looking like the Pillsbury Doughboy. So I can't trust him anymore, Coach. I think he fluked that knockout against Derek Lewis. And we saw how Derek Lewis, how good he looked last weekend. So is that win really even a win? He looked horrible too. So Towson Teixeira, I know he just lost to Derek Lewis as well. I thought that was a little bit of an early stoppage. I think Ty is going to have a lot of trouble getting inside on the bigger man. And that's a lot of Ty's game plan. If you watch him fight, he loves making it dirty. When he knocked out Greg Hardy, he likes getting inside. He's got sharp elbows. He's got sharp hooks. He can't fight with range. He struggles when there's a bigger man across from him. You saw him in the Cyril Gane fight. He got dominated. And I know Cyril Gane is one of the more technical heavyweights, but he's bigger, he's longer. It's going to be the same case here for me with Towson Teixeira. If Towson can stay on the outside and avoid circling into the power right hand of Tai Tuivasa, I think he gets it done. Give me a second round TKO for Towson Teixeira, Coach. What are you thinking?
I'm with you. The only way that Ty's going to win is to get inside and uppercut. And frankly, I don't trust. If I'm being honest, I'm so bored with the heavyweights. They all come in fat. They all look sluggish. Give me the lightweight guys any day. These dudes just come in, and it's almost like they take a lot of pride in being fat and out of shape.
Yeah.
I will say this. Ty is fighting at home, and he wants to put on a show. And I think he knows that if he doesn't do something this time, he's getting cut. Because, everybody thinks he's cute and funny, and he drinks out of the shoe and all that, but that's getting tired. He's got to put on a show and finish this guy, but I don't think he will, because I think Towson he's a big boy. If he keeps him at length, he's gonna knock him out. And I think we're going to see another Derek Lewis thing here. So I got to go with Towson myself.
I agree, Coach. There's a great equalizer with heavyweight. The most skilled man does not always win. You saw it in the fight I was referencing earlier when Tuivasa fought Gane, when he was on that huge win streak. He did catch him in the earlier part of that fight and put him down. The same thing could happen here with Teixeira. I just think Teixeira is going to take a little bit of stock from that loss against Derek Lewis, because you're essentially fighting the Mowdy version of Derek Lewis. He's going to be slow. He's not very technical. If you can get him down on the ground, he's probably not going to get back up. So he's had some experience, fighting this same type of guy. In his last fight with Derek Lewis, I think he takes some stock from that and ultimately comes in with a different game plan. Doesn't want to start a firefight and instead keeps him on the end of his punches, like you were saying, Coach. I got Teixeira in this one.
Me too. Let's move on.
Let's move on to one of the most technical fights that you can put on in the lightweight division, Coach. Rafael Ataman Fiziev is taking on Mauricio One-Shot Hoofy, Coach. And for me, this is a striker's delight. But if Fiziev is smart, he takes this fight to the ground. I think you saw the game plan to beat Hoofy in his last fight against the man that fights next in Benoit Saint-Denis. If the threat of the takedown is there, it neutralizes the highlight level striking from One-Shot. But I will say, on the other end of the spectrum, Hoofy has moved his camp from the Fighting Nerds into City Kickboxing with Volkanovski and some of these guys in Australia. So he is well acclimated to the area. He was smart about moving down there and training some grappling with Coach Joe Lopez and the guys over there at Volkanovski's camp. But Coach, for me, for some reason, I think Fiziev is an expert at getting inside on the taller man. I think this is the opposite of the last matchup. Fiziev is so good. You saw him when he fought Ignacio Bahamondes in his last fight. He's so good at getting inside on guys that have the reach advantage, guys that have the height advantage, because let's face it, he's 5'8" in a division where guys are usually 5'10" and above. So he's used to being the smaller man in these matchups. Coach, I think Fiziev, who is a striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai, is going to get inside, use the Muay Thai, use the clinch, be able to clinch up with the taller man. And I think Hoofy, to me, is just a little bit reliant on those highlight reel spins and those bigger hooks, those moments where you say, wow, he is an incredibly technical striker. Because to the untrained eye, you're watching these incredible ninja-like movements. It's almost like watching an anime, Coach. But for me, when I'm watching two guys in a high-level striking matchup, I want Fiziev all day. I think he's the higher level striker. I think he's better at seeing patterns. I think he's better at setting up the strikes he wants to throw. For me, Coach, I'm going to take Fiziev by decision here.
Yeah, I am too. And I went back and forth on this. I just want to see a great fight. And you're right about, I know you call him Hoofy, and that's how you pronounce his name, because that's just how it is. But he's got every kind of weapon, and sometimes he tries to look too good. And I think Fiziev is just such a dirty-looking fighter, and I like the guy, and I don't know why I like him. I just think he's a scrappy guy. I think he's really, really tough. I think that he's had a lot of really good fights, and I just, for some reason, my gut says he's going to win. And I think one shot may go down with one shot because Fiziev he surprises me sometimes with his power. I just like him overall, and I think he's going to. I think it's going to go the distance, but I think that Fiziev is going to win.
I agree, Coach. I'm on the same page. I think one shot is a very accurate alias for Mauricio Rufy because he relies on that one shot majority of the time. And a lot of the times that's all it takes. If you watch when he knocked out Bobby Green, highlights like that, he loves creating those moments where you're going to see those for the rest of the MMA history. Those are incredible moments. But for me, Rafael Fiziev creates an accumulation of damage on his opponents. And for me, damage is the number one scoring criteria in a fight where I think is going to go the distance, like you said, Coach. So for me, that favors Fiziev. I think in this matchup, the shorter man's going to be able to get inside and ultimately take the decision.
Yep.
Let's move on, Coach, to our co-main event. Once again, in the lightweight division, a very lightweight heavy card, which is something that we like. Dan the Hangman Hooker takes on Benoit, God of War, Saint Denis. Coach, I'm going to go to you first. What are you thinking in this matchup? Who you got?
Oh, my God. People like Hooker because he's such a clown, and he's a funny guy. And he's one of these guys that's just, he kind of reminded me of Gaethje, where he's talking about violence all the time. And, he's had some great fights, but man, he's got 13 losses, so he's taken a lot of damage. And he lost his last fight, but he said he got a broken nose, prior to the fight at the weigh-ins, and he couldn't fight the same. And I don't know, man. I just think he is. I will say this: he's fighting at home, and he's another guy that needs a win, and he needs a big win if he wants to stay in the UFC. I just think I'm kind of actually surprised that this is a co-main. I don't love these two guys. I think Saint Denis is a pretty cool fighter, and he's had some good fights. I'm going to go with Saint Denis just because I think that Hooker's. I just don't trust him. Does that sound weird to you? Because I don't trust who's going to show up. And sometimes I think these guys put on a good show outside the ring so they can get back inside the ring. And he's one of these guys that talks a lot and kind of like Tui. He can always work his way in because he's colorful. But I think Saint Denis is the God of War, and I think he's gonna go to war with this guy, and I think he also needs this win, and I think he's excited about being in the co-main because I don't think either one of these guys deserves it. Frankly, I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree, Coach. Definitely a weak co-main here, especially on a numbered pay-per-view, quote unquote. I know we're with Paramount Plus now, but a pay-per-view level event here. To me, Coach, Dan Hooker is severely overrated, and I think a lot of his fights have been won off of the idea of how tough he is. Don't get me wrong, he's incredibly tough, but there have been a couple fights, Jalen Turner I can think of off the top of my head, he was losing that fight, toughed it out, ultimately got Jalen Turner to break. The Mateusz Gamrot fight was close, and it was kind of like it could have gone either way, and Dan Hooker was tough, and he was screaming in the corner. So I think he won that fight because of that. And there were a couple moments, man, I love this shit, man. Oh, I love this shit, guys. And it's like, is he really that good? I don't think Saint Denis is incredibly technical either. But for me, Dan Hooker, there's kind of the stigma around him that he's incredibly tough. And I think he is, but honestly, I think that's won him a couple fights. Just that idea that he's Dan the Hangman Hooker, he's going to hang in. And when you look at some of the performances, Arman Sarukian, I know it's Islam Makhachev, he gets dominated, he dominates everybody, but he was severely dominated. There were no moments in that fight. He got sparked out by Michael Chandler when he first came into the UFC. I mean, I can think of 5 Dan Hooker losses where he just got dominated. Arnold Allen even, he dropped down to featherweight and got destroyed by Arnold Allen. So for me, like you said, Coach, I think his off the cage, off the field persona adds a little bit to his mystique, I guess, that he's this tough guy. He's a marauder, as Joe Rogan would say. But to me, the guy on the opposite end of the cage is the real marauder. I think Benoit Saint Denis has a perfect game plan to beat Dan Hooker. I think this is similar to Fiziev. You got to take this guy Hooker down because he is dangerous in the pocket. He's dangerous on the feet, but you can neutralize all of that if you can get it to the mat. I think you take the same exact game plan for Saint Denis that you did against Mauricio Rufy. Take this guy down, neutralize him, clinch him up, don't let him get into space, because the thing with Dan Hooker is he survives off of his toughness and his length. If he can catch you at the end of punches, he's going to be able to beat you. But Saint Denis, being the smaller, stockier man, he is the God of War for a reason. I know there's going to be kind of an inclination to brawl with Dan Hooker because that's the style he brings. If you're Saint Denis, do not feed into that. Clinch him up. Get him on the ground, make it a little bit dirty. Don't make this fight clean. I think Benoit Saint Denis TKOs him in round 2, Coach. I just think Dan Hooker, for some reason, has made himself out to be better than he is. And when I watch him fight, I think this guy is losing majority of these fights until something happens. There's a turning point. And all props to him. He stayed in the UFC through this toughness and this grit. I just don't think it's going to be enough against Benoit Saint Denis. I think he's technical enough that Hooker won't be able to grit through a win here. I think he's going to get finished in the second.
Yeah, one more thing. You mentioned Arnold Allen. I got to tell you, going back to last week, he looked really good. I was surprised how good he looked.
Yeah.
But and he was fun to watch. Really nice jabs, and you don't see a lot of guys that have that. He looked great. But let's move on to the main event.
I agree, Coach. We are both on the side of Saint Denis here. For me, Hooker just doesn't do it for me. The Hangman is biting a little bit more than he can chew off in this matchup. Coach, that moves us on to the main event, the rematch down under. As we talked about earlier, Alexander the Great Volkanovski takes on Diego Lopes in their second matchup for the 145-pound belt. Coach, I'm going to go to you once again. Lead us off here. Who are you taking?
I have gone back and forth on this, and I got to tell you, I love both of these guys. I can't help it. Volk is such a stud, and he's such a cool guy. But I feel the same way about Lopes, and I just like both of these guys. And I think it's a cool matchup again because the first fight was really awesome. I went back and watched some of that fight, and I was getting kind of melancholy, thinking that Volk's going to lose. And then I started watching the fight, and I realized he tore Lopes up pretty good. And the thing about Volkanovski, I had Lopes earlier the week, and I think we had at our meeting, we talked about it. I went back and forth, and I watched a little bit of the last fight, and I got to believe that I think Volk has just been around too long, and Lopes has really good hands, and if he catches you, you're screwed. But the only way he's going to catch Volk is as Volk gets caught going backwards.
Yes.
And he can't do that. The thing about Volk is he won that fight. He got caught once or twice and got knocked down, but for the most part, he was kicking Lopez's ass, and Lopes is young, and he's going to come in there looking for a firefight again, unless he's really studied. And I'll say this: Lopes is a student of fighting. He's at every fight. He's either there live or he's watching it with his boys. But this guy loves to fight. He loves to study the fight game. I think he's really studied to see what he did wrong. But I'm going to tell you something. There's so many levels to Alexander the Great's fight game, and I think losing made him think a lot about what he needs to do. And I don't think he's going to get caught like that. I had Lopes last week, and now I think I want Volk, and I think he's going to do it. I love both of these guys. I know the UFC would probably like to see Lopes. They love the fact that Volk's been around for a long time, but I think that Lopes is kind of a cool guy. I got to tell you, I think Volkanovski's going to win, and I think the only thing that's going to save Lopes is a knockout if he catches him, because I think if Volk gets him down round after round, he's going to beat him. And I think he's smart enough to know how he got caught last time and how he's gotten caught in the past. And he's just got way too many levels to him. Lopez is young, and he can be emotional if he's not careful. But I got to pick Volk.
Yeah, coach, I think you make some great points. The one thing when I do a tape study, like you said on Volkanovski, when he gets caught, it's when he backs out of the pocket with his chin up. And it's so
Yep.
surprising that he hasn't corrected that habit in 20 years of fighting or however long it's been, but he always backs out of the pocket like this. And his hands are kind of up, but it's so open to be caught. Coach, I'm in agreement with you, actually. I think Volk's going to finish him this time, and here's why. I think Diego's going to go back on the film study. I was there in person, Coach. I was in Miami when these two fought for the first time in the main event. And to me, what I gathered was this is Lopez's first 5-rounder. So he was kind of conserving the gas tank, especially early. And I think Volk won 23 out of the 25 minutes of those fights. Diego was pressuring, but his big moments, like you said, is when he dropped Volk, when he hurt Volk. He hurt Volk twice in that fight. And it could end at any time. Lopez has that sort of power where he can finish you. But I think Volk is going to finish him for this reason. I think Diego Lopez is going to think, you know what? I was there for all 25 last time. I can push my gas tank a little bit harder. Let's come out a little bit stronger in the opening rounds. And I think that's going to lead to Volk catching him with a counter. It's going to be whoever catches who first. Honestly, it's going to change the fight. If Diego can catch Volk backing out of the pocket with his chin held high, because the thing that Diego Lopez does so well is throw not straights, but hooks and uppercuts. He loves the hook and the uppercut, especially in the clinch. Diego Lopez has the best clinch work in the UFC, in my opinion. The way he can get the single collar tie and throw the uppercut and throw the hook over the guard is beautiful. If he can catch Volk in that, I think that can lead to a potential finish. But like you said, Volk's game is so layered. Even a jiu-jitsu specialist like like Lopez, Volk can manage that. He's been on the ground with Islam Makhachev. He's been on the ground with these high-level guys. Brian Ortega was able to get out of some of the deadliest submissions. He's been on the ground and on the feet with Yair Rodriguez. Dominated these guys. Volk is the most well-rounded guy that you're ever going to see in mixed martial arts. So like you said, he has those elements to his game where usually Diego Lopez can exploit. If the fight isn't going well on the feet, he can take him down. We saw that in the last Gene Silva fight. He neutralized some of the danger of Jean Silva by taking him down in the first round and beating him up early. You can't do that with Volkanovski. Even when he got taken down by Islam Makhachev, he was held down for 3 minutes of the round, got back up, and started beating him up, Coach. So I think Volkanovski, the only thing that is going to hinder him in this matchup is his chin and the way he backs out of the pocket. That's the only way Diego Lopez wins this fight, Coach. He's not winning it by decision. The only way he can win this fight is by TKO or KO. For me, Volkanovski has more ways to win this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Volk gets him on the ground and beats him up a little bit like he did in the first fight. He had him on the ground and was throwing some ground and pound. But for me, Coach, I think Volk finishes him in round 3. I know a lot of people are looking at this fight to go to a decision. To me, I would take the under 4.5 rounds. I think this ends early one way or another. I think it ends within the first 3. And for me, Coach, I can't bet against Alexander the Great Volkanovski. I think this guy's still got some in the tank. And how can I go against him when I saw him win 4 out of 5 rounds in the first fight, Coach? I think Volk is the master of adjustments, and I think Diego's only adjustment is going to be, let's start this fight with a little more gas. Let's put the foot on the pedal just a little bit more, and I think for me that favors Alexander Volkanovski, Coach.
Yeah, I think if Volk gets him down, once he gets on somebody, he's kind of like a Dagestani
Underrated
guy,
ground and pound.
100%.
Yeah.
He gets somebody down, man. They're going to get finished. And I watched. I've been watching some of the stuff leading up to this fight. Volk, he looks pretty good. When I saw some of the older stuff, he did the old Volk stuff. He looks like he's in really good shape. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, Lopez always looks good, but Volk for Volk looks real. He looks like he's armor plated, and I'm excited to see this.
I agree, and I really like the addition of Rufi to the training room for both guys. I think Rufi is fighting a smaller guy in Fiziev, and Volk can mirror that style, and Volk is fighting a taller guy in Lopez, and Rufi can mirror that style. So I think the addition to him in their room in Australia, I think that's a great training partner. We saw it with Fares Ziam with Justin Gaethje last weekend. He could emulate Paddy Pimblett's style with a taller opponent for Justin, and I think that served major dividends. I think this is going to be the same for Volkanovski. That training room has only gotten better, and he's got a great training partner there. I think Diego Lopes's camp is also great, but I just don't know what adjustments Diego can make other than let's start this fight with more pace. I think Volk makes adjustments on the fly, and his main adjustment he's going to have to make is don't back out of the pocket so sharp. You got to back out of the pocket with a little more awareness. If you're going to back out of the pocket, let's cut an angle. Because when I was watching that first fight, Coach, I was rooting for Volk in Miami, and it was nerve-wracking whenever Diego would cut off the cage and land one of those hooks, because he's coming off of 2 KO losses in a row at the time, so you didn't know if that chin was going to crack. That last fight against Lopez makes me feel a little bit better about Volk's chin and where he's at as far as being refreshed. He is getting older. He's 37 years old, but for me, Volkanovski gets this one done, Coach. I think we're in agreement here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And like I said, I really like Lopez, and you know, it's going to be great no matter who wins. It's going to be suck no matter who loses, because we both like these guys, and I hate the matchup just because I like both guys. I can't stand when you get 2 guys that you really like and you're kind of torn. But you know what? It's 2 great fighters, so what the hell? It'll be fun weekend.
I agree, Coach. Another great main event put on by the UFC, the second event in the Paramount era. Coach, it's been good. It's been great to have you back. I appreciate you coming on.
Right on, buddy, and Happy New Year.
Yes, sir, Coach. Happy New Year. Happy Paramount era. Coach, that's all I've got. We are the Coach and the Kid. This is Budge MMA, and we're out. Love you, Budge.